Just because a child has a hearing loss doesn't mean they're like any other child with a hearing loss. They all come with their own different needs and support services. There are many different support systems available to children with hearing loss. Some children need all of them and some children need a few of them, but they all begin with the family and the support the child receives at home. It can include the deaf ed teacher, the gen ed teacher, the teaching assistant, interpreter, transcriptionist, the speech therapist, the audiologist. Some school districts have an audiologist on staff and the child accesses that audiologist as well as maybe a private audiologist or a private speech therapist. Other support systems include the school counselor or a school counselor that could be hired by the regional day school program that can meet the specific needs of a child with a hearing loss. Setting up mainstreaming or an inclusive setting for a child with hearing loss in a perfect world, I think, starts with setting up a very strong, supportive environment. And I think that starts with the gen ed teacher and the deaf ed teacher or the support person for that child, that there is a strong working relationship between the two, that they have time to work together, to plan, to work on schedules, to talk about specific accommodations or modifications that child might need in the class. That deaf ed teacher or support person can be the person that can educate the gen ed teacher, making sure that person has a good understanding of hearing loss, language development, communication needs, that they can work together for that child. And that if the child comes with a team, the child may or may not come with a team, but if there is a team, that they all work together. The team could include the deaf ed teacher, an interpreter, a transcriptionist, a teaching assistant, that they all know their role and that their role is important in helping this child with a hearing loss have a successful inclusion or mainstreaming situation. I would also spend time at the beginning of the year working with the classmates, helping them understand hearing loss, the communication needs of the child. This child may or may not need sign language, helping them understand what it's like to use sign language or not, or how to talk with a child who has a hearing aid or cochlear implant. I would also help the classmates understand the use of an interpreter or a transcriptionist. And do they use that professional also or not? Or how does that work within their classroom setting? I would spend a lot of time with the classmates and the child with the hearing loss building relationships, helping them find things that are in common. If there is a communication barrier, how to work through that. If the child needs sign language, do we teach sign language? Or until we're waiting to learn sign language, what are other things we can do? We can look at the child, we can use gestures, draw pictures. What are ways that we can build relationships? There are many games that we can play that require no language, and then there are some that require minimal language, such as, Battleship, where you just need to know a letter and a number.